Action. Okay, today we're here with Mark Robichek, who was for 24 years record holder of Frogger video. Everyone knows what game Frogger. So today we're here. He was also on the King of Kong, asking him about his score and various other questions. So how long did it take you to achieve that score that you did back in the days?
Well, that famous score from 1981, 442,330, took 2 hours and 59 minutes.
Okay.
On one chord.
And how long did it take you, basically, of playing the game itself to get to a high score like that?
Well, that's a good question. It turns out that was a special weekend. It was a holiday weekend, 3-day weekend, and 20 different people from California went down to an arcade in Southern Cal, and 20 people at the same time went to an arcade in North Carolina. It was kind of a us versus them competition. And so I was playing for 3 days, and I actually broke the world record on the first day. But then my counterpart in North Carolina beat my record. And so on the third day of that weekend, I managed to get that 442 and took the record that lasted, like I say, until my birthday in 2005.
Wow, that's very long. So basically, you're the longest record holder of Frogger. It's just recently, like, there's this resurgence of score, like Steve Wiebe and all these other scores being broken after 25 years. Kind of interesting.
Well, Donald Hayes and Pat LaFay have since beaten that record.
And so Donald
it's
Hayes,
now just under 700,000.
All right. And is there any? You have any thoughts on trying to also go for that record again?
Reclaim it? No. I've moved on, as they say.
Okay.
But
all right.
this thing is kind of a lot of fun. The California Extreme that we're at today. They don't actually have a Frogger machine that I could find. But even if they did, it's one of the things I could play it. I could probably get back to 100, 200,000 maybe. But I'm a married man now, got a real life. So that part of my life, it's still fun, but I've moved on.
Okay, all right, that's fair. And Donald Hayes was also a score holder on Millipede, I think, or?
Well, Donald Hayes has been one of those people who's been going for a lot of world records.
Okay.
So he actually wasn't even around at the time that I was setting scores in the early 80s. He wasn't even trying to get scores. Well, I wasn't old enough yet.
Oh, I see.
But now he's come of age, he and also Pat LaFay have been just tackling some of the old classic arcade records, mostly out of an arcade called Fun Spot in New Hampshire.
Right on, okay. And let's see, the next question would be, how did you first get started in video games in general? Like, most people were casual arcade players, but how did you just, go for Frogger and really get into it?
Okay, well, what got me started was after school. I would head over to my local arcade that only had pinball at the time. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I was so good at pinball that I was actually making money when I went to the arcade. So I would drop a quarter or two in and earn enough replays and sell them for more than I paid. That kind of got me started. And then when the real arcade games came out, Asteroids, Missile Command, I started playing them. And Asteroids was the first one I really got into. And then when Frogger came out, I knew I'd found the game that I really liked. And so I started playing it several times a week, going for hours at a time, and eventually kind of honed my skills to the point where I was able to play it for a long time.
What made you decide on Frogger? In other words, what was appealing about Frogger that made you decide, oh, this is my favorite game?
Well, it's a combination of two things. The gameplay. I really like the gameplay of just having to guide the frog across the road, across the river, and into the homes. And also the simplicity of it. One thing that I think has kind of turned me away from video games of the present is that the games have gotten too complicated. They have controls. You might have 10 buttons and a few joysticks. Frogger had one joystick. That's it. There wasn't even a button. And so the whole idea of a game that good being that simple, to me, really that just appealed to me a lot.
All right, great. And then on a side note, there looks like you have an original T-shirt there from some lost arcade, perhaps.
This is one of the 30-year-old arcades that was right here in San Jose, just down the road about 5 miles, and it was called Galactican 1. And it was so popular at the time, they actually had a Galactican 2. But come the early 80s, as one by one the arcades disappeared, this one did as well. So it's a legacy shirt.
So you had this shirt when you were like a teenager then?
You
still fit it?
I will admit that, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't a teenager at the time. I was in my 20s.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. And what do you think about like the future of Twin Galaxies and that? Are you involved in Twin Galaxies? Or?
Well, yeah. I know I contact Walter Day. I see him at a lot of events like this. And of course, when the movie Chasing Ghosts came out, I got to see Walter in person at multiple screenings of the movie. I went to the original showing in Sundance in Utah, and also saw the original screening in California, which was done right here about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. And then so it sounds like he's kind of more in a retiring stage. So what is he going to be doing? Like in other words, some other people are doing scorekeeping. Things have changed a little bit. What is Walter doing now?
I can't picture Walter retiring, even though he says he's going to.
Yeah.
One reason is, as they kind of alluded to in Chasing Ghosts,
Yeah.
he has a music career he's pursuing. But to be honest, I think he's way better as a scorekeeper than he is as a musician. So I just can't see him retiring. I don't think he can get away from the appeal of being what he is in video games.
So he's still pretty involved in Twin Galaxies right now.
He is. Yeah, he's
Okay.
still associated with the scoreboard. He's still making appearances. I'm sure still going to wherever Chasing Ghosts is making appearances. And Walter's Walter.
Okay, and so so you started out kind of like as a pinball hustler, and then now you're a card hustler. Then huh?
That's right. I moved on to cards. So yeah, I'm a card counter. Been kicked out of 2 casinos in Las Vegas, and also now I'm a poker player and also a poker and blackjack dealer locally.
Now,
So I do that for fun and money.
okay, all right. And would you say that playing these classic games as a child kind of evolved into what you're doing now?
It did. It got me disciplined. And
Okay.
in fact, I went to college. I went to Stanford, and I think that video games really helped me do well at college. Because what would happen is I would study to the point where I think I knew enough to be able to do well at the test. And then I would go to the arcade and just relax for hours. And when I get up the next morning, I wasn't all tense. I actually took the test and did very well at it.
Now, were you ever involved in computer programming or any of that, or just as a gamer?
I was indeed. Yeah, my first job out of college was a computer programmer.
Okay.
And then what I found after about a year is I really preferred working with people to computers. And I moved into engineering, moved into kind of application engineering, systems engineering, and finally quality control, which is purely working with people.
And when your early days with the computers as a programmer, what kind of languages or computers did you work on?
My first language was BASIC. They don't even use that anymore. I moved on to assembly language, Fortran, and Pascal. So,
And what were you using those languages like? Were you creating a database, or what was that all about?
well, actually what happened was a company I worked for made control systems, and I did custom applications using Fortran so that people, customers buying our system would have to do what they wanted to do. So it was essentially custom programming.